Hello everyone, this is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto created a boxer shorts alter ego and attracted Sakura Haruno, Hinata Hyuga, Ino Yamanaka and Tenten Part 1. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. As usual, two frantic ninjas that were well known for quarreling could be heard throughout the park. People stepped around them, sighing, praying for the two to stop being so noisy every day. I'm twice the ninja you'll ever be, Naruto. Sasuke yelled in rage. Oh yeah? Well, I'm 3 times the ninja you'll ever be, Sasuke. Naruto retorted. I'm 5 times the ninja you are. 10 times. 20 times. 500 times you, Sasuke. Well then I'm infinite times you. Oh yeah, well I'm. Naruto squinted in thought. Infinite you, plus 3. That's not even a real number, idiot, Sasuke said coolly. Shut up. Naruto puffed. People call me the most surprising ninja. Everyone knows that surprise is a ninja's strongest quality. That's not the kind of surprise they meant when they dubbed you that, you noisy idiot. Sasuke yelled in annoyance. He took a deep breath, closing his eyes. Then he grinned wickedly. Okay, you want to prove you can surprise people? Surprise me. If you can keep out of my sight for 24 hours, I'll admit that you are the most surprising ninja. Ha, is that all? Naruto smirked heavily. That's too easy. Maybe you should give me a handicap or something. Come on, pick anything. Sasuke's grin grew. Gotcha, he thought to himself. Okay, if that's what you want. You have to stay hidden from me, wearing only your boxer shorts and undershirt. Naruto stared at him blankly. What? Sasuke nodded, then looked at his watch. He closed his eyes. Okay, we'll start, now. Undressing no jutsu. Naruto blew up in a puff of smoke. When everything cleared, he found himself in his heart-patterned boxers and white shirt, with his orange outfit in Sasuke's hands. What the hell kind of stupid jutsu is that, you crazy moron? Undressing no jutsu, it's academy stuff, he shrugged. He kept his eyes closed, not wanting to see Naruto, fearing it would burn his eyeballs, and he'd lose his precious Sharingan. No it isn't, he cried angrily. He froze, feeling eyes staring at him. Gah, you could have at least given me a chance to run, you. He yelled as he flipped away, leaping for the nearest rooftop and dashing off. Sasuke just looked up, and when he was certain he left, he started dancing, humming out music. Oh yeah, 24 hours without that peanut-brained loudmouth. He noticed people had begun to stare at him. He slowed down to a halt, clearing his throat. Dance no jutsu, from the academy, sure is effective. Indeed, he nodded to himself. He walked away quietly, confused stares creeping on his back. Yush, I'll just sit tight here. Naruto said confidently to himself. I won't let Sasuke find me for 24 hours and make him admit I'm the better ninja. He stopped and thought, was that what he said he'd do? Ha, of course it is. Naruto had, cleverly, disguised himself onto the roof of a local 24-hour general store, filling his hands and feet with chakra to grip the roof as well as donning camouflage to look like the roof's texture. He smirked, chuckling to himself. You're mine, Sasuke. 23 hours had passed. Needless to say, any ordinary person would have grown tired of holding the ceiling long ago. In Naruto's case, his limbs were all cramped, his face squished in pain and fatigue. His arms and legs were shaking, eager to let go. Not yet, almost won, he muttered. Then again, maybe if I get off for just a minute. At that moment, he heard the doorbell chime and saw Sasuke walk in. Tears formed in his eyes. What the hell kind of timing is this? He whispered in exasperation. Hey, Sasuke-kun. The manager greeted him. He was a burly man with a bushy mustache. Sasuke nodded in acknowledgement. Just milk, Sasuke said, placing the bottle on the table along with some cash. The door chimed again. Naruto glanced to see Hinata walking in, carrying a purse in her hand. Ah, gee, good morning, Sasuke-kun, Hinata said with a bow. Sasuke grunted back. He pointed at his milk. Getting milk. Ah, yes, I see, Hinata answered shyly. That's good. Yes it is, Sasuke said coldly. Naruto looked at the two in wonder. Man, what a dull conversation topic, he murmured. The door chime went off yet again. This time, a strange man Naruto had never seen before walked in. He was roughly as big as the storekeeper. His jacket, which had a tall collar, shielded his face. Naruto tried to check for a forehead protector, but couldn't see one. On his back, he carried a menacingly large metal club. Welcome, sir. The store manager said. Can I help you? That depends. The man's voice was rude, ticking Naruto off. With incredible speed, the man whipped up his club, hammered the manager, sending him to the wall. I didn't use my full strength that time, he cautioned. And if you put all your money into a bag and give it to me, I won't have to. The storekeeper nervously got to his feet, taking out a bag and opening the register. I don't want no trouble. You. Sasuke jumped up attempting to kick him, but he was easily flicked away by the man's club, sending him down the aisle and into the back wall, dizzying him. Hinata was about to check on Sasuke, but was grabbed by the man. He glanced at her purse. You seem to be loaded today. Care to spare some money for a poor man? He threatened. Gee, get away. Hinata tried to attack him, but he had already grabbed her arms with only one of his hands. He was much bigger than Hinata, and much more powerful. Nobody is stronger than me. He bellowed, snatching her purse. He rose her higher into the air, then threw her down the aisle towards Sasuke. But her flight was cut short, as she was caught by a ninja who masked his face and hair with a roll of camouflage that resembled the roof, and wore heart-patterned boxers and a white shirt. The only distinguishable features were his red eyes and forehead protector. I have to be careful, or Sasuke will recognize me. Just gotta maintain the fox's chakra for a little while, he thought in a panic. He looked down at Hinata and said with a strain, trying not to lose himself in the nine-tailed fox. Hey, are you okay, or what? Ah, Hinata looked up in confusion, feeling as though she knew this person, but couldn't recognize his eyes. He felt like someone she found important. Naruto looked up again and stared angrily at the thief. You, he said, altering his voice to a deeper tone. How dare you attack these people? I'll show you that I'm the strongest. The thief looked at the masked ninja with squinted eyes, before bursting out in laughter. Some guy in heart-patterned boxers thinks he's stronger than me. Come on. He spread his arms and shut his eyes. I'll give you a free shot. Nobody could see, but the masked ninja smiled underneath his mask. Big mistake, big boy. The ninja set down Hinata, and raised his left arm. Red chakra began to swirl in it, static bolts flying out of it now and then. Naruto roared, the fox's energy bursting inside him, seeping into his ball of chakra. The thief opened his eyes, noticing the powerful chakra. But he was too late. The masked ninja had begun his charge, and before the thief could react, he felt a massive force press into his stomach. The force would have flung him away had the ninja not grabbed him and held him down in front of him. This is for hurting Hinata and Sasuke and the storekeeper man. The thief groaned in pain as the masked ninja carried him outside of the store. He then concentrated more energy, raising the thief above his head while still holding him into his ball of chakra. Rasengan. The ninja let him go, and the thief flew up into the air at Mach speeds. The ninja looked up as the man flew right out of the village. Naruto took a deep breath and relaxed. Until he noticed that everyone in the street was looking at him. He glanced around at the people. They looked at him in awe. Sasuke and Hinata had appeared at the store's doorway. Who are you? Sasuke asked with a hint of annoyance in his voice. Thank you, Hinata said softly to him, but was drowned out by the townspeople's cheers. Whoa, you rock, whoever you are. You're one strong guy. I love your boxers, man. Love 'em. Naruto would have enjoyed the praise, had he not remembered Sasuke's challenge. I can't let anyone find out it's me, he thought. Or Sasuke won't say I'm better than him. Naruto jumped into the air, landing on the building's roof and jumping away. Sasuke jumped up after him. Who are you? He yelled, throwing a kunai at him. Naruto dodged by mere inches. Not good, he'll catch me at this rate. Naruto thought hard. Okay. Naruto whipped around and ran straight at Sasuke. In surprise, Sasuke tried to reach a ready stance as soon as possible, planting his feet onto the ground with chakra and raising his arms to block any incoming attacks, which is what Naruto hoped for. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he yelled quietly, hoping Sasuke wouldn't recognize his voice. Before Naruto could make contact with Sasuke, he burst into 20 copies, which ran in every direction. Sasuke turned his head around, trying to work out which was the real one, but before he could activate his Sharingan, all the copies had gotten away. He cursed under his breath. Who is that guy? If he took down that other guy where I failed, then he's probably much stronger than I am, damn it. Naruto dashed into his room through the window and ripped off the mask, breathing heavily. Too close. He panted. He took a deep breath, then cheered to himself. All right, Sasuke has to acknowledge me now. Yes. Within minutes, word of the masked ninja had spread throughout the village. Did you hear about him too? The strong Konoha ninja. Yeah, the really strong ninja who doesn't even need armor when he fights. Heard he saved Uchiha Sasuke's butt. The Uchiha Sasuke. He must be tough. I heard he uses super strong techniques. I heard he's a really good looking guy. I heard he wears amazing boxers. Man, who could possibly own those boxers? Townspeople were going crazy for the masked heart-patterned boxer ninja. Everyone, that is, but Sasuke. He sulked in the park where he had fought with Naruto yesterday. Grr. Who could this guy be? Naruto groggily gained consciousness, his eyes squinting open, blinded by the rays of sunlight pouring through his window. He thought for a moment as to why he was tired, and remembered he had invoked the fox's energy for a prolonged period of time the day before in his determination to beat Sasuke. He sat up, stretching his arms and yawning loudly, the blanket moving to reveal he was still in his heart-patterned boxers and shirt. Suddenly, his eyes shot open in realization. Sasuke's gonna acknowledge me today. He yelled in joy, shooting up and running for the fridge. He grabbed a bottle of milk, ripped the cap off and slammed it down, only to find it was empty, as he usually found it. Oh well, I'm too happy to care, he said with a grin, this time reaching for his orange juice. Once more he unscrewed the lid and tossed it down, only to find it was also empty. His eyebrow twitched slightly. Well, this is nothing, he said, forcing a smile. He picked up a cup and stood in front of his tap, smiling eagerly. However, when he turned the knob, found that his water wasn't running. He stared at it with blank eyes. Well, it's okay, because Sasuke will. He was interrupted by a horrendously loud growl emanating from his stomach. Oh my god, I'm just way too hungry, he yelled, throwing on his orange jumpsuit in blinding speed and heading for his door, only to find he couldn't open it. What the hell is going on today? Sorry sir, a voice called from the outside. Moving furniture. Give us a minute. Gah, I don't have a minute. His stomach grumbled louder. Ah, screw this, he yelled, dashing for his window. He threw it open and hurled himself outside, hopping buildings at breakneck speed for his favorite ramen stand. Along the way, Naruto looked down at the people walking about and noticed that strangely, everyone had their eyes glued to a newspaper. Huh, that's weird, Naruto noted. Guess something big must have happened last night. But it couldn't have been as big as Sasuke having to acknowledge me. He grinned broadly, continuing his trek for the ramen stand. Hey, old man, Naruto said weakly. He finally arrived at the ramen stand, and looked as though all the fat and muscle had left his body, wrinkles covering his face and making him look like an old man. He didn't even have the energy to raise his head. 3 bowls of ramen on the double. And I swear I'll pay you back. He begged, half knowing that the old man would just kick him out. Sure, came a dull reply, tossing 3 bowls onto the table casually. Naruto stopped panting for a moment to ponder this situation. Did he just put 3 bowls of ramen, for me, without question? Naruto rubbed his chin in wonder, then looked up at the old man. Not only the old man, but even his assistant had her eyes glued to a newspaper, holding the paper in one hand and making noodles with the other. Naruto scrunched his face in thought, before shrugging and sitting at the table. Hey, at least I get my ramen, he said happily. Itadakimasu. Naruto hammered into his meal like a monkey on steroids. During his meal, someone sat by him, a man with eyes also glued to a paper. Morning, Naruto, he said with a familiar voice. At the ramen stand as usual, I see. Iruka-sensei. Naruto blabbered through stands of noodles, which flung outwards as he talked. You're reading the paper too. You mean you haven't heard? Heard what? Iruka turned his newspaper around, showing Naruto the headline. It read, Hero with heart-patterned boxers defeats famous renegade ninja. Naruto spat out a mouthful of ramen in surprise, before hurriedly picking it up with his chopsticks and swallowing it once more. Wah wah wah, what's this? Naruto said in surprise. Last night, a powerful ninja wearing boxer shorts, dubbed Boxer Sama by the media, apparently beat up a world-famous high-priority runaway ninja, known for targeting numerous general stores, and robbing them without fail. While the runaway was attempting to rob a store, Boxer Sama arrived and beat him up. Iruka said happily. Really? Naruto said, needlessly loud. That's just great. Naruto felt himself getting really sweaty. This isn't good. If Sasuke finds out about this, he gulped. Then, he isn't going to acknowledge me. He'll know that I didn't stay out of sight for 24 hours. Anyway, this super ninja is the talk of the village. Maybe if he keeps popping up, he'll become world famous. But I want to be the world famous one. Naruto demanded. I don't want to make him famous. What? Make him famous? Iruka repeated in confusion. Naruto broke out in a stupid laughter. I don't want him to be more famous than me. Yeah, Naruto huffed out, laughing even more. Iruka looked at him strangely. Don't worry, Naruto, he said, patting him on the back. Someday, you'll be famous, just like Boxer Sama, he said, as he pointed at a caricature of Boxer Sama, as described by witnesses. Apart from Naruto's attire, he was also drawn with more muscle and much taller. Naruto looked at it nervously. Of course I will, Iruka-sensei, he said with a sigh. Naruto sat in the park on one of the trees, his face frowning. Gah, how did this happen? Naruto mumbled to himself. If Sasuke finds out, he won't let me hear the end of it, and he'll never say I'm better than him. I've gotta find a way to make people stop thinking about me as some boxer short-wearing freak. He looked down and noticed Sakura walking with Tenten, Ino, and Hinata. At the notice of Sakura, he hopped down to greet them, taking his mind off his Boxer Sama problem for a moment. He landed right in front of them, making a flashy entrance as he was inclined to do. Hey girls, he greeted them ecstatically. Hey Sakura, how've you been? He said happily. Yeah, hi, Naruto, Sakura responded dully, showing how little attention she was paying him. Hinata, however, waved shyly to Naruto, her face flushed. Naruto saw that Sakura was in a deep conversation with Tenten and Ino. Anyway, so I heard that he's a total hunk of a guy. They said he's as strong as a Hokage. No way, Tenten gasped. But still, he did supposedly beat someone Sasuke couldn't, and also the guy that he beat was a really famous criminal. He must be totally dreamy. Ino said with a flutter, her eyes shining. Who are you girls talking about? Me, he said with a grin, posing. He was answered with a sharp blow to the face from Sakura's fist. Of course not, idiot. As if you could be anything great. She sighed. We're talking about Boxer Sama. He's totally awesome. Tenten squealed. Naruto looked up at them from the floor, his nose bleeding slightly. But that is me, he mumbled. Hinata went over to Naruto in a worry, taking out another container, similar to the one she had given Naruto during the Chunin exam. If you want, you can have this, she said shyly, presenting the salve to Naruto. It should help ease the pain in your face. Hee, thanks as always, Hinata. He said, accepting the medicine and dabbing it on his nose. Man, I wish these girls wouldn't be such brutes and be more like you. He commented with a smile. A smile, which was promptly wiped off by Sakura's foot. Who's a brute? She said, her face burning with anger. Come on, let's go somewhere else, where people will appreciate a great person like Boxer Sama. As they trudged off with a huff, a red-faced Hinata who was glancing at Naruto following behind them, Naruto pouted and squinted his eyes. I've gotta do something about this Boxer Sama crap, he muttered. Almost answering his need, he saw a small band of ninjas, roughly 10 of them, hop out of nowhere. They had no forehead protectors on, and they quickly fenced off the park, with Sakura and the girls still within it. 4 of them hopped to the corners of the park and began forming seals. Their comrades ran about the park during this time, knocking out all the male ninjas in the area, and capturing all the females and children, herding them to the park's center. Naruto himself was hit hard from behind, falling to the ground, and noticing a ninja's shadow jumping over him. He rolled out towards a tree and leapt up into the branches, peeking out through the leaves at the crowd of women and children formed, along with the 6 remaining ninjas. A large barrier building around the park interrupted Naruto's gaze. Naruto realized that this came from the 4 ninjas that were forming seals. He looked around. All the males were either mere genins or townsfolk, nobody around who could stand up to the strength of 6 ninjas, who from Naruto's point of view seemed fairly strong. People of Konoha. One of the ninjas, which Naruto presumed to be the leader, called out, using a jutsu to amplify his voice around the entire village. One of your annoying ninjas has beaten up a good friend of ours, named Bashuma. We want this ninja. This ninja named Boxer Sama. And if he is unable to get past this barrier and beat us, he pointed at the crowd of women and children. These people will all face terribly embarrassing things. Naruto looked out blankly. Reet. From outside the barrier, crowds were beginning to build up, high-level Junins and Chunins being called for. Naruto already formed something of a plan. Okay, he whispered to himself. If I go out there and get my butt kicked, they'll think that Boxer Sama is just a loser. Then I'll change back to Naruto and kick their asses, and I'll be recognized. Naruto quickly began stripping into his boxers. Prove how great you are, Boxer Sama. The lead ninja challenged. If you don't get here in 3 seconds, I'll start undressing the girls. No. Yuck. All the girls wailed. The ninjas giggled in a girly manner, their faces going red. Oh my gosh, these ninjas are total perverts. Hey, a deep, strong voice called out. Leave them alone. The ninjas stopped giggling, and turned towards the voice's direction. There stood the red-eyed Konoha super ninja Boxer Sama, clad in his famous boxers and his Konoha forehead protector, this time having a scarf that Naruto borrowed from a nearby unconscious genin. He pointed at them. I'll show you what happens when you hurt the people of this village. He announced. Perfect. Now I'll just let them beat me up. He thought to himself. But I better be quick, using the fox's energy is no walk in the park, even though I am in a park. Wow, one of the ninjas muttered to his comrades. He got through the barrier without us even seeing him. They noticeably began to sweat nervously. Don't be afraid, the leader called, pointing back at Boxer Sama. Attack him with all your might. The ninjas uncertainly moved to engage Boxer Sama, all forming various seals. Boxer Sama prepared for their attacks. One by one, the ninjas began finishing their seal formations. Fireball, water bomb, dirt clump, air thrust, gravity push. Sheep rampage. Sheep rampage. Naruto mumbled before a crapload of attacks hit him directly, smoke filling up the barrier, followed by a rampage of chakra-formed sheep trampling across him. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was lying in a heap, in the middle of a large crater. Ha! This guy's nothing, one of them said. Let's finish him already. Wait, the leader exclaimed. This can only mean one thing, he's playing us. The other ninjas looked at him in confusion. What do you mean, sir? He took out Bashuma in one shot. He must be playing us. Naruto looked up, wondering if his plan worked. Due to the previous attack, not only was Naruto in no condition to move, his ears were ringing with the sound of buying. He couldn't make out what they were discussing. Suddenly he saw 4 of the ninjas head for the group of women and children they had captured, and each grabbed one. To Naruto's horror, they had grabbed Sakura, Hinata, Tenten, and Ino. The leader stepped in front of them and faced Naruto. Boxer-sama, I know you're just hiding your strength to surprise attack us. But I won't let that happen. If you even move funny, we're going to start undressing these girls. Naruto, still unable to hear, had no idea what they were up to. But noticing that his friends had been grabbed, stood up in pure anger, letting the red chakra seep from his body, making him burn red. Oi, let them go, he yelled with a voice of rage, intimidating his opponents. He yelled, partly from rage, but mainly because he couldn't hear himself to control the moral of his voice. I said don't move. The ninja repeated, signaling the other ninjas to grab the girls' clothes. The girls shrieked in embarrassment, much to the pleasure of their captives. We'll rip their clothes off, I swear. I can't hear a damn thing you say, but I'm still gonna kick your asses. He dashed at them in anger, scaring them even more. Do it. Rip their clothes off. He'll stop if we rip their clothes off. The lead ninja called in fear. The ninjas frantically tried to rip their clothes, but the girls struggled a lot, making the task difficult. Naruto had already begun his onslaught, completely forgetting his plans to make Boxer-sama look bad. He had turned into a red ball of fury, jumping onto each of them and belting the crap out of them with his bare hands. Within minutes of Naruto's frustration, all 6 ninjas were on the ground in a writhing pit of pain. Naruto's hearing had returned to normal, the ringing of sheep leaving him. Naruto headed over to the girls. Sakura, Tenten, Ino, Hinata, you all okay? He asked, before slapping himself inside. Gah, I shouldn't use their names. They might know it's me and tell Sasuke, and then it's all over. In a panic, he ran before the girls could answer, leaving them in awe that the famous Boxer-sama knew their names. He dashed right at one of the ninjas holding the barrier. Break the barrier before I beat you up. He yelled in despair. The ninja's face went pale as he hurriedly complied. The barrier fell at the loss of one of the ninjas, and Naruto dashed off over the hordes of people who began clapping in awe of Boxer-sama. Had Naruto looked down, he would have seen Sasuke in the crowd, staring up at Boxer-sama with hard eyes. Who are you? Naruto had changed back into a spare orange jumpsuit he had at home, and returned to the scene in order to pick up the clothes he left behind at the park. He saw the ninja band in binds, most of them badly bruised and wounded. Naruto walked past the group of girls on his path to the tree with his clothes, and overheard them talking. He's so amazing. He saved us. What a great guy. Oh my gosh. I love him. I love Boxer-sama. Goodness. His boxers, they're just so awesome. Naruto's eyes felt slightly teary. They finally like me, he whimpered. But it isn't me. This sucks. He saw Sasuke, and finally remembered he was meaning to get his acknowledgement. He strode up with pride, forgetting his worries. Sasuke. Naruto called out. I beat your challenge. You have to acknowledge me now. Sasuke didn't even look at him. What challenge? I don't remember. Leave me alone. I'm busy, he mumbled to him with angst in his voice. Oi, Naruto wailed. I've been waiting for this all freaking day. You have to say I'm better than you. Better than me, Sasuke said sarcastically. You're not even able to compete with that boxer's idiot. Let alone me, idiot. You're an idiot, idiot. Don't use idiot so many times in one go. And stop calling me an idiot, you idiotic idiot. Naruto cried out in despair. Man, now you're making me say, idiot, a lot, you idiot. More whining ensued from Naruto's mouth, heard by all, yet listened to by nobody. Naruto finally sighed and calmed down. Man, this couldn't get any worse. Suddenly, numerous ninjas from the various villages were arriving, all carrying notebooks or tape recorders or cameras. We want to hear about Boxer Sama. They explained. He'll be famous throughout all the villages. It's a great scoop. Naruto sulked even harder. Why? When I say it won't get worse, it does. Tears flowed from his eyes like waterfalls. Someone make it stop, it sucks. Today, nothing seemed to go Naruto's way. A week had passed since the incident at Konoha Village's park, and the name Boxer Sama was known throughout the many hidden ninja villages, even sound. Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were on a mission with Kakashi, in which they were taking care of one of the school's classes. Konohamaru's class to be precise. Man, I wish people would shut up about this Boxer Sama crap, Naruto complained as he watched the class run their 499th lap from the sidelines. For once, I could almost agree with you, Sasuke grumbled under his breath. Sakura was unimpressed. You two should feel honored that such a cool hunk of a ninja could be found in our village, she scolded. Naruto looked at her in surprise. Did you just scold Sasuke too? Naruto said in awe. Sakura's face went red. Wah. No, of course not, stupid Naruto. She yelled, punching him in the face. However, inside, she too was very surprised that she was actually talking back against Sasuke. Boxer Sama was really getting to her. Konohamaru and his class stopped in front of them, panting slightly. Were you guys just talking about Boxer Sama? Konohamaru asked angrily. I hate that guy. He thinks he's so great just because he beat up some guys. Naruto. Beat Boxer Sama up. What? Beat myself up? Naruto asked in confusion before hitting himself. I mean, yeah, Boxer Sama is a loser, I'll beat the crap out of him if I see him. Although I don't want to beat myself up, he thought. You can't even beat me, idiot, Sasuke taunted. If he's really as strong as a Hokage, you don't stand a chance. Shut up, you. Naruto yelled at him in anger. Naruto's mood was becoming crummy, so he took it out on the class. All of you. 500 more laps. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade was frantically shuffling around numerous bundles of paper, made up of mission offers, notices, wanted posters, love letters, and newspaper articles. The one thing they had in common, they were all related to the one and only Boxer Sama. There was even a weird manga with him on the front, called, Boxer Sama no Boxers. Damn it, this Boxer Baka is really making my life hell. She yelled, throwing in a good amount of obscenities. Shizune, attempting to assist her on her own desk, tried to calm her down. Come now, Tsunade-sama, Boxer Sama has helped the villagers twice. You should think better of him. Better of him, Tsunade said sarcastically. He walks around in bloody boxer shorts. She raised some of the papers to further prove her point. And he's effectively quadrupled my workload. I've been working like a dog for a whole week, and I'm lucky if I get to sleep. Shizune smiled nervously. Unknown to Tsunade, she was also smitten by Boxer Sama's heroic persona, but didn't dare tell Tsunade, afraid she might try to beat the love out of her. A knock on the door was heard. Without waiting for a reply, a rough, white-haired man walked in casually. It was the famous Sanin Jiraiya. Yo, Tsunade, he bellowed. I see you're exactly the same as when I was here last week. Buried in work. If you've come just to taunt me, I'll beat the crap out of you, Tsunade grumbled back at him. Jiraiya walked up, taking a seat in front of her table. He was about to put his feet up, but the death glare from Tsunade made him think otherwise. So you must really hate this Boxer Sama character, Jiraiya said, flicking through a notebook, mostly filled with the vital statistics of the many women of Konoha. After all, knowing you, anyone who gives you work is as good as dead. Tsunade arranged a few more papers before sighing and leaning back, deciding to take a short break. Goodness, this guy, all of a sudden, everyone wants to hire this guy on all kinds of jobs. Look at this one. She picked up one of the recent mission requests she had recently filed. A jailhouse in the Sand Village was busted open, and they want him to catch all 30 escaped prisoners. That's just absurd. Jiraiya's face went red as he continued flicking through his book. Ah, such beautiful numbers on you, dear, he said, smiling like a pervert. Pay attention to me, you. Tsunade yelled, standing up, leaning forward, and flicking him on the forehead, sending him flying back to the door. I was. Really? Jiraiya said in defense. He dizzily went back to his chair, rubbing his forehead sadly. You know, if we're going to receive missions for him, we should try to get him to do them. After all, we can't just turn down requests, right? Tsunade sat down again, looking at Jiraiya. It would help if we knew who this guy was, Tsunade said. A smile slowly crept to her face, and she looked up at Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked back at her uncertainly, then realized what she was planning. No, oh no, no. Jiraiya said, waving his arms frantically. No, I refuse. I have other things to do. Come on, Tsunade-san, he begged. Did I ever tell you how beautiful you are? Tsunade cracked her knuckles before Jiraiya finally caved in. Anyway, why don't you take some genins or chunins to help you? Perhaps Naruto would help you out. Naruto's the kind of cute kid that will help you out for food, Tsunade said with a girlish giggle. Jiraiya smirked at her. Cute Naruto, he said with a chuckle. Tsunade froze on the spot. I didn't notice, but whenever Naruto's the subject, you sure do become a bit of a schoolgirl. He said with a laugh. What are you talking about? Tsunade screamed with a red face. I just think Naruto's impressive for having such a strong goal. Oh, so now he's impressive. Jiraiya said with a snicker. Oh, sometimes it's so easy to see through the tough old lady. Shizune, who was eavesdropping quietly, had also noticed that Tsunade seemed to have a special place in her heart for Naruto, but didn't dare confront her about it. But it was obvious to her that Tsunade had in fact fallen in love with Naruto's strong personality. Let's just get back to the problem at hand. Tsunade said, her cheeks red. I want you to find out who Boxer-sama is, so I can go public about it and make everyone send his work to him directly. That way, I won't have so much damn paperwork. Sure thing, sure thing. Jiraiya smirked, standing up to leave. As he reached the door, he turned around once more and added. And just for you, I'll try to get Naruto to come around so you can mother him for a while. I bet you'd love that, Tsunade. Get out, you idiot. Tsunade groaned in embarrassment. Jiraiya dashed out, laughing heartily. As he exited the building, he took out another notebook. This one, while made up mainly of his sketches of female anatomy, also had a detailed section about Boxer-sama. It had all the descriptive information he could gather, for he too had become interested in whom this person was. Lucky for Naruto, nobody could recall what kind of move Naruto used to deal with the general store thief Bashuma, but it did contain information on his appearance. Boxer-sama, huh, he thought out aloud. What an interesting person. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were sitting outside the school, waiting for Kakashi to come and complete the paperwork. That guy, late as always, Sasuke said in annoyance. The three of them sighed simultaneously. An hour had passed since the time Kakashi was meant to arrive, but they were growing used to his late-coming habit. Yo! Kakashi's voice was heard as he dropped down from the sky in front of them. You took your time, damn it. Naruto wailed. What took you? I got lost, Kakashi explained casually. That's a lie, they yelled back in frustration. Well, anyway, here are your pays, he said, revealing 3 envelopes, with their names written on them. He handed them out to them. Oh yeah, and I met Jiraiya on the way here. Naruto, Sasuke, he's looking for you too. Something about Boxer-sama. Sasuke nodded, but Naruto almost had a heart attack. Wah, what does he want from us? And what about Boxer-sama? It's not like he thinks I'm Boxer-sama or anything, 'cause that's just crazy. Naruto exclaimed. Everyone stared at him in wonder for a moment. I don't know about that, Kakashi said to him. And besides, Boxer-sama is supposed to be as strong as a Hokage, so I doubt he thinks it's you. Are you saying I'm weak? Naruto yelled in disbelief. I'm not saying you're super strong, let's just say that, Kakashi said with smiling eyes. Another mission tomorrow, so we'll meet at the same place, same time. Before Naruto could yell at him more, Kakashi burst in a puff of smoke and disappeared. The three of them looked at each other. What does Jiraiya-sama want with you two? Sakura asked. Who cares, let's just get it over with, Sasuke grumbled. Naruto. Let's go, idiot, he yelled as he jumped off. Naruto chased him in annoyance. Why'd you call me an idiot? Because you're an idiot. No, I bloody am not. After realizing they didn't know where Jiraiya was, quarreling about whether or not to stop and ask around, stopping to ask around, and complaining about who didn't want to ask around, and eventually beating the crap out of each other, they finally managed to find Jiraiya, who was sitting by a river, along with Neji. We'll consider him completely able-bodied. I haven't seen past that part yet. Kiba, Choji, Shikamaru, and Shino. You guys took your time, Kiba growled, followed by a bark from Akamaru. Who cares? Not like this is incredibly important, Shikamaru grumbled, lazy as always. What's going on, Ero Sennin? Perverted hermit, hopefully spelt properly, Naruto asked. Jiraiya grumbled. Don't call me that all the time. He yelled. After clearing his throat, he prepared to explain what was happening. Now that everyone has finally arrived, I will tell you all what is happening. I'm sure you've all heard of Boxer-sama. Everyone responded, showing hints of jealousy, hatred, or disgust at his underwear-inclined outfit. Naruto shivered nervously. Well, we have been ordered to find out whom this guy is. Naruto laughed nervously. Are you serious, Ero Sennin? You want us to chase some boxer short-wearing freak? No way these guys want to. Let's do it. The others yelled enthusiastically. Even Sasuke showed some spirit. Naruto looked up in surprise. The others, even Shikamaru, looked up at Jiraiya, smirking evilly, desperately wanting to catch this guy and beat the crap out of him. He had made them all look weak, and they were especially annoyed that all the girls talked about him relentlessly. Naruto laughed out nervously again. Now, we're only trying to find out who it is. It's not like we're going to kill him or anything. Jiraiya explained. The others sighed in disappointment. Except Naruto, who felt a bit safer. Well, we can at least beat him up, right? Lee asked, greatly enraged that yet another person was taking Sakura's heart away from him. His eyes lit on fire, and he jumped to his feet and posed like his teacher, Guy. I'll show him the power of my way of the ninja. Yes, Jiraiya murmured as they all stared at him. Anyway, he yelled, returning everyone's attention to him. We will now begin planning on how we're going to catch him, and to do this, I've prepared a special exercise. What kind of exercise? Choji asked, fearing it was some form of physical activity. Ah, the water's so nice. Hey, let's play ball here. This is a hot spring, silly. Naruto looked at Jiraiya in disgust. This is your exercise. Jiraiya didn't look at him, his eyes glued to the women in the hot spring. They were sitting in some shrubs, the others also finding it difficult to look away. Even Sasuke had a bit of a stare, but tried desperately to hide it. This is very important. I'm sure it will help us greatly to be here, he said, chuckling. But this has nothing to do with catching him. Naruto whispered loudly. Oh yeah, get up a little more. A smile slowly broke into his face, as blood slowly broke out of his nose. Oh yeah, that's the stuff, right there, oh my love. Naruto was just about to punch him, when they suddenly heard the door to the hot spring open. Oh, my God, Kiba mumbled, followed by a perverted, soft bark from his canine companion. Naruto saw everyone staring more intently. Sasuke didn't even try to hide it. All of their noses had even begun to bleed slightly. Naruto turned his attention to the hot spring, and would have screamed out if Jiraiya hadn't grabbed his mouth. Naruto watched in a combination of surprise, arousal, and horror, as Sakura, Hinata, Tenten, and Ino all walked in, covering themselves with towels. Even Naruto, who was very much against this kind of stuff, had a glowing face. Their stares grew stronger as they began to unravel their towels, getting ready to clean themselves before entering the hot spring. But just as they were about to take their towels off, 4 more people came in. At their entrance, every one of the observers, excluding Naruto, had burst into an enormous nosebleed, Jiraiya especially. Well, if it isn't 4 of the best busts in town, Jiraiya huffed, his breathing becoming faster as he jabbed tissue after tissue up his nose, causing his breathing to sound more nasal, like a bull. Tsunade, Shizune, Anko, and Kurenai had all entered, also covered with towels. The genin girls bowed and greeted the 4. Tsunade and her company waved happily, joining them at the cleaning area, locked in conversation together. Having such a large chest is always a pain. It's hard keeping the towel wrapped. Tsunade bawled. I agree completely, Kurenai said with a sigh, pushing her pair inwards. It's also a pain on my back and shoulders. I quite like them like this, Anko said with a grin, grabbing hers roughly. They're nice and juicy. Hee, it's good mine aren't as big as your ones are. Shizune giggled. But still, mine are big enough to hurt my back also. Naruto's face began to burn, as he tried to shove Jiraiya's hand off his face so he could leave. But Jiraiya, in all the excitement, had tightened his grip, beginning to choke Naruto. Naruto began fighting and struggling for air, but was completely ignored by everyone. Finally, in desperation, he opened his mouth, sucked in some of Jiraiya's hand's meat, and bit down hard. YIIOOOOOOOOWWWWW. Jiraiya yelped in agony. All the boys looked up in surprise, as well as all the occupants in the hot spring. Who's there? Show yourself, pervert, Tsunade ordered. All the girls looked up in surprise, glad they had yet to remove their towels. Quick! Run! Jiraiya ordered. The boys disbanded in a hurry, fearing for their lives, wanting to escape the clutches of girls like Tsunade, Sakura, and Ino. Jiraiya ran off after them. Hey, wait for me, Naruto yelped, clambering to his feet. But to his dismay, he lost his footing, slipping, and falling straight for the hot spring. He hit the water with a splash, the girls shrieking and climbing out of the hot spring, wrapping towels on. Naruto burst out of the water, panting in air. Too hot, he complained, wiping his eyes. As he opened them again, he looked out in surprise and horror. All the girls looked at him with surprised eyes. Especially the ones who knew him: Sakura, Ino, Tenten, Hinata, Kurenai, Anko, Shizune, and Tsunade. They stared at him, some showing embarrassment, namely Hinata and Tsunade, some showing plain surprise, Shizune, Kurenai, and Anko, but the one thing they all showed was pure anger. Naruto, Sakura said, her voice rising slowly. You idiot! They all yelled, as they ran at him and trampled him. Apart from Hinata and Tsunade, of course, who were more concerned of hiding their bodies from Naruto's cute eyes. However, that doesn't mean he received any less of a beating. Jiraiya returned, looking down at the scene. He sniffled sadly, tears in his eyes. Naruto, you lucky bastard, what a beautiful harem, he whimpered, obviously misinterpreting what was happening. When Naruto finally managed to run out of the hot spring, chased by half-dressed women, Jiraiya appeared and pulled Naruto away to safety. He brought Naruto to one of his old shacks in the outskirts of town. You okay, Naruto? Jiraiya asked with a chuckle. You looked like you were having fun. A beaten, bruised, black-eyed Naruto stared at him, his eyebrow twitching. If that looked like fun to you, then you are an idiot, Arrow Sennin. Come on, he bellowed. Well, you may as well change your clothes, you'll catch a cold. Naruto hadn't noticed that Jiraiya, throughout the time they had known each other, had begun to treat Naruto like something of a son, often finding himself worried about the little blonde-haired child. Yeah, Naruto mumbled, too fatigued to think. He began to remove his jumpsuit, zipping it down, revealing his white shirt, soaked and see-through, followed by. That's when Jiraiya saw something that almost made him yell out. Naruto, you. He stuttered. Naruto looked at him drowsily. What? You're covered in marks of love. Those are bruises, you stupid hermit. Bruises. Naruto yelled, finally pulling his jumpsuit down past his stomach, to reveal his heart-shaped boxers, which he had, by chance, chosen to wear on this day. Jiraiya looked up at him with a serious face. Naruto, your boxer-sama. Naruto jumped, his mind fully waking up 1 minute too late. He whipped around, standing in his shirt and heart-patterned boxers, looking for an excuse. Well, he thought for a moment. I know. Reverse psychology. Yes. I am Boxer-sama, Naruto said casually. From Jiraiya's surprised reaction, Naruto put 2 and 2 together. That didn't work as well as I hoped. Once again, Naruto proves that he is quite unique, being one of the few, if not the only, super ninja around to lose his hidden identity within 1 week. Shino, staying at home with his father, suddenly began to feel ill a few minutes ago. Believing it was just gas or something of the sort, he tried to ignore it, but found the pain to grow to a point that it was unbearable. Is something the matter, son? Shino's father, Aburame Shibi asked with concern, lowering his newspaper. As people had been doing for the past few days, he was reading one of the many columns of Boxer-sama, a gossip column just about him and his romantic escapades. You've been clutching at your stomach for some time. Shino cringed from the pain in his stomach. It feels as though I ate something bad. Strange. I haven't eaten anything particularly strange, just the usual fertilizer for my bugs, God. Shibi asked. There's one other possibility, something that only ever happens to people of the Aburame clan. However, it's a very rare occurrence. Shino looked in interest. And what kind of occurrence is it? Well, Shibi got up and picked a book out of a nearby shelf and flicked through the pages, looking for something. It is believed that the insects that we house in our bodies will slowly but surely gain an intellect of their own. Of course, they won't peak at our level, but they reach a point when they can independently do things, such as attacking, harvesting, and collecting, without the need to be ordered by their master. They instantly seek out what they believe to be necessary for themselves or for you. And how does this relate to my stomach ache? Shino asked, unable to find resemblance of the two. Shibi finally found the page he wanted, and turned the book around to show Shino. In it was a picture of one of their ancestors. Or at least what used to be one of their ancestors. Instead there was a pile of their ancestors' body parts, combined with blood, guts, and a massive pile of vegetables. Where normal people would have puked like mad, Shino stared at it with a raised eyebrow, almost indifferent. What does this mean? This is your great-grandfather's cousin's aunt's sisters, it went on for a bit. Cousin's husband's stepdaughters, okay, so it had a little bit more. Estranged twin brother's unborn son's mother's father. I can't remember his name, however. Yet he remembered all that, Shino thought to himself with a sigh. The bugs in his body were convinced by their host's mother that he wasn't getting enough vegetables in his diet. So the bugs, using their small amount of intelligence, would gather vegetables, shoving them into his body any way they could. Anyway, Shino asked, shivering at the thoughts it gave him. Indeed, they shoved them, not only through the holes meant for the bugs, but also through his mouth, his nose, into his ears, his father shuddered. I think they even forced some through his chakra holes. Crazy little bugs. Shino started to sweat uncertainly. So you think this is happening to me? Well, maybe, his father replied calmly. Let's find out. Tell them to remove anything they had in your body, oh, and you better specify through where. You wouldn't want it coming out, you know, Shibi pointed at his behind with a face of agony. Right, Shino said. He channeled his energy, telling them to bring out everything they brought in, through the holes in his hands. Immediately, the bugs complied, bringing out item after item. But it was what the items were, that shocked Shino. What the hell? Shino yelled uncharacteristically, his voice actually becoming much louder than a whisper. Laid out in front of him by his bugs was merchandise. Fan books, posters, action figures, even underwear. And yes, they were all from one certain celebrity. Son, I don't normally ask you about your hobbies, his father asked nervously. But, you're not a fanboy for Boxer-sama, are you? I mean, it's not like I'm questioning you or anything, it's just. Shino eyed his father with an ice-cold face. Dad, shut up. Shibi smiled, patting his son on the head. There's my Shino. You're a real manly badass. He said with a sigh of relief. Shino thought back to the day he was with his team, a few days ago that week. It was the day after the incident at the park. Flashback. Boxer-sama, Hinata asked curiously. Tisk. They're talking about that moron that wears underwear and runs all over the place, Kiba scowled angrily. As usual, Shino was fairly silent, but his ears perked at the sound of this strange news. He was the one that saved that general store, Kurenai explained, reading the newspaper article. You were there, weren't you, Hinata? She asked, looking at Hinata, who responded with a shy nod. Bah, I could care less about that guy, Kiba shrugged. He's probably just some idiot out for attention. Now, Kiba, Kurenai scolded, folding her newspaper. Boxer-sama would be a good role model for all of you. As ninjas should be, he's out there for the better of the village. He's also breaking laws running around, Kiba murmured. Shino was still listening intently. He hadn't known that Boxer-sama would become this famous, be spoken about this highly. However, he did read the first article on him when it was written, but hadn't known that practically everyone in the town had read it. Anyway, I'll just say this. Kurenai said, calling their attention. It would be very good for your growth as ninjas to take in as much of Boxer-sama as possible. It'll be very healthy for all of you to learn from his ways. Shino sighed, realizing that Kurenai's words had almost made him blow up, showering boxer shorts and merchandise all over the place among his limbs. He whistled with a low pitch, relieved he wouldn't have to die in such a stupid way. But the thing that stung him the most, his little bugs were apparently fans of Boxer-sama. And it wasn't the merchandise that told him that, it was the fact that they were all wearing miniature boxers, which he immediately ordered them to take off and burn, then contain the ashes and lock it up forever. They murmured quietly, saying things in bug language like, man, Shino's tight, he's just jealous because we've got awesome boxers, and, Shino's being a bitch. Boxer-sama had made Shino's bugs think he was in, and almost inadvertently killed him, and Shino didn't like that sort of thing. Hey, Dad, Shino said, his normal calm tone returning. I think I want to kill Boxer-sama. Shino's dad sat back down, flipping through his newspaper once more casually. That's terrific, son. Kiba's story. Kiba was busy training with his dog Akamaru in the forest he trained in many times before. He set up 2 duffel bag figures, tying them up with rope. Okay. Ready, Akamaru. Kiba said with an evil grin. Bark. Akamaru responded with energy. They faced the 2 targets. Time to test out our new super trump card. Kiba yelled in excitement. Ready. Let's go. They ran up to the targets, yelling out. They leapt, flying through the air, their mouths beginning to open up, and then. Chomp. The 2 latched onto the puppets, biting down hard. This would have been a very plain attack, had they not bitten where they did. That's it, Akamaru. Rip them off. Kiba yelled between bites, straw inside the puppet beginning to pour out of the hole he was ripping out. It was quite an intimidating scene to watch. A boy and a dog latched onto the groin region of two straw men. Men especially would find this technique gruesome and worse than death. After they were satisfied that the technique was a success, meaning the hole in the groin region was massive, they sat down to have a snack, which was of course dog biscuits. Nothing like our family dog biscuits, Kiba said, chomping down on them. A sound in the bushes caught their attention. They stopped eating, sniffing violently. Who's there? Kiba demanded. Show yourselves. Arf. Akamaru barked out menacingly. Hold on, we'll come out. A girl's voice called. When Kiba saw the girl, he was taken aback. Her features seemed surprisingly rough, much like Kiba, with an animalistic feel about herself. Yet she was still fairly attractive, especially in Kiba's eyes. She even had a female dog in her hands, who caught Akamaru's attention completely. Sorry for the disturbance, she said with a grin. We smelt the dog treats and well, we couldn't help ourselves. Kiba grinned back at her. Why don't you two join us then? He said, patting the ground. Really? Great, the girl said, her ears seeming to perk about, which totally turned Kiba on. She hopped over, sitting in the fashion of a dog, and began picking up and energetically eating the biscuits. They're great, she squealed happily. Aren't they? Kiba said, chewing down more. Arf, Akamaru called nicely, shoving a dog biscuit towards the female dog. Bark, she replied happily, accepting the biscuit. What a cute scene. After finishing most of the treats, there was only one left. You can have that one, Kiba said, offering it to the girl. Oh, I couldn't. You should have it, she replied with a smile. Okay, how about this, Kiba said, breaking it in half and handing her one bit. 50-50. The girl smiled and took the piece. Simultaneously, they broke it in half and handed the quarter piece to their dogs. They stared at each other, realizing they did the same thing, and laughed. Haha, it's almost like we were, I dunno, meant to be. Kiba said enthusiastically. He was surprisingly forward. I think I like you, we've got a lot in common. Wanna go out with me? The girl smiled apologetically. I'm flattered, but I'm sorry, my heart belongs to someone else. What? Kiba said in surprise. Tell me who it is, I'll beat him up and prove I'm better. I don't think you can, he's meant to be quite strong. Have you heard of Boxer Sama? He's so incredible, I want to marry him someday. Kiba's jaw dropped open. First the papers, then Kurenai, and now the girl of his dreams. Kiba fumed, steam coming out of his ears. Arf arf, Akamaru asked. Translation. Will you be my dog, you beast, you? Bow wow, the female dog replied. Translation. I'm sorry, but I'm in love with Boxer Sama's boxers. The girls bowed goodbye, leaving the two there, heartbroken, and very pissed. Arg, Kiba yelled out at the top of his lungs, scaring the birds away. Boxer Sama not only broke my heart, but his goddamn boxers broke Akamaru's. I'll kill you Boxer Sama. They yelled, except Akamaru was more like, rar rir you Roxer Rara. Lee's story. But Sakura, Lee yelled, I can protect you better than anyone. I know you're strong, Lee, but you're just. Sakura looked at his face and shuddered. Not my type. Besides, Boxer Sama is totally awesome. He saved all of us single-handedly. I could have done that. Lee moaned, posing in guys, nice guy, pose. Sakura stared at him nervously. Of course, Sakura said, rolling her eyes. She playfully glanced at her wrist. Oh, gee, look at the time. I've gotta go, eat. She said, dashing off. But you don't have a watch. He called out to Sakura's figure as it disappeared in the distance. Lee sighed sadly. He ran, streams of tears following after him, to his favorite teacher's favorite training area, where he saw him doing push-ups with only his head and neck, bobbing his head forwards and backwards to lift his body. Guy sensei. Lee called out in agony. 1 minute, my excellent student. Guy said, panting. Kakashi just beat me in a staring contest, which is funny, because he only has one eye. Isn't that funny, my cute student? Lee laughed out instinctively. That is utterly, outrageously funny, sensei. When Guy finally stopped, having sprained his neck and swearing to instead do 5,000 pumps of a large boulder with his tongue, he sat down beside Lee, who was looking down sullenly. What's the matter, Lee? He said, smiling broadly, causing his teeth to sparkle. When his sparkle wasn't returned, he tried to be a bit more serious. Am I not impressive enough? Lee wondered out aloud. Am I not strong enough? Lee, his teacher said, putting his arm on his shoulder. He stared at Lee intently, with caring eyes. You're not strong enough. Lee's eyes went dead from what he heard. Tears began to form in his eyes. Sensei, that's cruel. Lee received a prompt backhand slap to the face, sending him flying. You idiot. I said that so that you would want to be stronger. Lee rubbed his cheek, tears running loose. Really, sensei? Wow, you really care about me. He yelled in joy, running up to him. Guy stood up to return his incoming hug, as the ocean appeared behind them and splashed up against the rocks that they were suddenly standing on. After their scene, Lee asked strongly. Sensei, how do I become stronger? There is a certain person I want to overpower. Guy grinned strongly. I have been preparing for this. Many have recently wanted to top a certain somebody of their own, and for that, I was asked to prepare something that could help everyone, and I had the best idea. Really? Lee asked, overjoyed. Guy grinned, giving him a thumbs up. Suddenly, with a Guy grin, he grabbed his green suit by the legs, and with a mighty cry, ripped it off, causing Lee's eyes to become even more rounded in surprise. But Lee gasped when he saw what was underneath. Guy-sensei, your boxer-sama. He screamed out in horror. Guy once again backhanded him in the mouth. Boxer-sama's attitude is too hip. He exclaimed. But his fashion sense is as surprising and outrageous as my own. This is my plan. He yelled out, pointing at a shabbily made shack, with a big picture of Guy wearing boxers and grinning with a thumbs up. My gym. I will train people to have the strength of Boxer-sama. And we'll all wear boxers, and fight crime, and do all sorts of things. Who better to show kids today how to beat their rivals than the ultimate Boxer-sama? Even you could learn from him and his way of the ninja. And check out my new pose and face mask. Guy threw on a balaclava, which didn't even have holes for his eyes, looking more like a big sock on his head. It also covered all of his famous Guy features, which could be good or bad. He fanned out his boxers, causing them to ride with the wind as he stood there heroically. Somehow he even made the boxers sparkle like his teeth. Lee had tears in his eyes. Boxer-sama, what have you done to my Guy-sensei? Naruto stared at Jiraiya, uncertainly, who stared back, still in disbelief. Inside Naruto's head, he was instinctively thinking of excuses, but none seemed appropriate. Naruto decided to try his trump card. He started to form seals, then punched his palms together. No jutsu. In a puff of smoke, Naruto transformed to his female form, posing in front of Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sama. Don't tell anyone that I'm Boxer-sama, onegai. He said with a cute, high-pitched girl voice. Jiraiya's face instantly melted into his perverted look, drooling insatiably. However, a sudden recollection of Tsunade's fist made him snap out of it. Sorry Naruto, that's not going to cut it this time, he said with a hint of regret at passing down a chance to play around with Naruto. Hey, what's that on the ground? Let me bend over and pick it up. Naruto said, bending down, causing Jiraiya to blow a vein. However, Suon's fist once again scared the bejesus out of him, bringing him back. Quit it, Naruto. Jiraiya said beggingly. Naruto transformed back, running out of ideas. Please, Ero Sennin, don't tell anyone who I am. If you do, Sasuke won't acknowledge me. He pleaded. Jiraiya looked at him in confusion. I have no idea what you're talking about, but our Hokage asked me to find out who Boxer-sama is. It was an order, Naruto. I'm going to have to tell her. Ero Sennin, please. He whined, latching onto his leg. Jiraiya looked at him in surprise, shaking him about in irritation. Why the hell are you so attached to this Boxer-sama thing for? He groaned. I can't let anyone know. He yelled out. I don't want to be known as some idiot that accidentally showed up in boxers and beat up some famous guy. I want people to know me because I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto calmed down and let go of Jiraiya's leg, sitting on the ground with a determined face. I don't like being Boxer-sama. I tried to get rid of him. But it didn't work. Now it'll be even worse if people find out it's me. Naruto imagined everyone laughing at him. Sakura thinking he was idiot for running around in boxers. Sasuke telling him he failed his challenge. People being serious when they say, I've seen Paris, I've seen France, I've seen Naruto's underpants. He knew that Boxer-sama was the one they loved, and definitely not Naruto, the fox beast of a boy. Every village would find out, and he'd never become Hokage. You really don't get it, do you? Jiraiya murmured under his breath. What? I didn't hear you, Naruto asked. Nothing, Jiraiya said, thinking to himself. He was surprised that Naruto hadn't realized what good Boxer-sama could do him. Jiraiya had in fact taken an interest in Boxer-sama's activities fairly early, thinking that Boxer-sama had carried some heroic traits. A warrior who protected people, someone who fought for the sake of protecting, not for fame. He saw valuable characteristics for a position such as Hokage. Which is why he was surprised greatly to know that Naruto, the boy who sought recognition, and Boxer-sama, a mysterious warrior who fought without identity, were one and the same. Jiraiya took a deep breath and sat by him, twiddling his thumbs. What to do? What to do? Look, Naruto, I'll make a deal with you. I won't tell anyone. Really? Naruto shot up in joy. Thank you, Ero Sennin. He yelled, hugging him. Wait a minute, damn it. I said it's a deal. Jiraiya said in surprise from Naruto's sudden attack. You've got to do something for me. By not telling Tsunade, she's going to be mighty pissed off with me. God knows what she'll do when she gets me. I'll do anything, anything at all. Naruto said with bright eyes. Jiraiya replied with a smirk. Hey Naruto, can you meet me tomorrow? The next day, Boxer-sama, dressed in his heart-patterned boxers, stood in front of the hot springs, carrying a bucket and towel. A long, deep red ninja balaclava masked his face. A present from Jiraiya, the kind you see in old-school ninja movies, the name of the headgear escapes me. He squinted in wonder. Strange, why does he want to meet me in the baths? He even said that if I meet him as Boxer-sama, he won't tell Tsunade Obasan, old lady, again hoping I spelled it correctly, he shrugged with a smile. Oh well, as long as he doesn't tell her. Let's go. Boxer-sama waltzed in and up to the counter, where a bored man was skimming through a magazine. Excuse me, Boxer-sama said in his altered voice. I'd like to use the bath. How much? The man, a skinny guy with a massive mole near his lip, a comb-over, and heavy eyeliner on his eyes, grumbled, annoyed that he was being disturbed, and looked up. After noticing his face was covered, he looked down and noticed the boxers. Boxer Thama. He squealed in surprise with a silly voice. Apparently he also had a lisp, completing his unique character traits. It'th really you. The one and only. It's thuch an honor. The man said, jumping out of his booth to shake Boxer-sama's hand. I feel though blessed. Right, Boxer-sama said blandly. So how much to use the baths? For you, there, he said politely. Nothing. For a thuper celebrity thuch ath yourself, you're coming here ith payment enough. Oh, I can't wait to tell everyone, I'll have the most popular hot thing ever. The man slid towards Boxer-sama, whispering to him. You haven't gone to any other hot printh, have you? No. Yeth. He squealed in delight. Boxer-sama glared at him with impatient eyes. Ah, yeth. I'm though sorry for holding you, pleb. Tep hide. Boxer-sama sighed, pushing aside the curtain and stepping into the male side. Nobody was around, and Jiraiya apparently hadn't arrived yet. He was about to remove his mask when his discussion with Jiraiya flashed in his head. Flashback. You want me to meet you at that hot springs as Boxer-sama? Naruto asked curiously. Why? The only thing you have to know is that if you do this, I won't tell Tsunade. But you have to follow my rules completely. Naruto nodded exuberantly, unable to believe how easy it would be for him to get off the hook. Number 1. When you are at the hot springs, under no circumstances will you leave until I get there. No matter what, he emphasized. Number 2. Don't tell anyone who you are, no matter what. And finally, yeah, Naruto asked impatiently. Rule number 3. You must not remove your mask, or let anyone remove it for you. Naruto blinked at him blankly. Is that it? He laughed out. This'll be a cinch. Naruto got up and waved goodbye after they confirmed when to meet. Jiraiya wasted no time in preparing his plan, pulling out a stack of paper and a pen. We'll see if it's a cinch, Naruto. He smirked. Naruto's hand slid away from his face mask, intent on following Jiraiya's rules. He sat by the cleaning area and quickly washed himself up. He then jumped into the springs with a splash. Oops. Gotta maintain Boxer-sama, he thought out aloud. He sat in the springs, trying to look composed, but due to his fussy nature, fiddled and splashed about a lot. Mo, that damn arrow Sennin's late. He's becoming like Kakashi. You got one too? Sakura asked Ino in front of the bathhouse. They had, incidentally, bumped into one another. The free bath ticket. Yeah, Ino said, looking at Sakura's one. You've got the same one too. Do you know who sent it? No idea, Sakura replied, staring at her ticket. It said, free bath use from XX, 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 XX. Specially reserved for you, a friend. At the sound of footsteps, they turned to see Hinata, Tenten, Tsunade, Kurenai, Shizune, and Anko approaching as well, also holding the same ticket. You too as well, Tsunade remarked. What a coincidence, Tenten remarked slyly. A bit too coincidental. Perhaps, Hinata started, playing with her hands. This is Naruto's way of saying sorry for yesterday. I guess that's possible, Tsunade thought to herself, then blushed slightly. Naruto. Sakura started. That guy, ha, that'll be the day. Who cares why we got them? Anko said with a smirk. Let's go enjoy 'em. They walked in and headed for the ladies' side. Unknown to them outside, at the very same spot as he was in yesterday, was Jiraiya, glaring intently, this time bringing binoculars to better enjoy the show. But for once, and he hoped the only time in his lifetime, he wasn't there for the girls. Oh, great god of perversion, he prayed to his imaginary god. Please forgive me for this unsightly deed. Overlook that I didn't arrive for the girls. However, as he saw the girls walk in, his mind was completely disrupted once more. Ah, then again, I think I can peek for a little while to keep you happy, oh great perverted one. Boxer-sama sat in the springs, the heat getting to him. He had waiting for 2 hours, and still Jiraiya hadn't shown up. He heard people entering on the other side, but couldn't care less, more worried about his temperature. Damn it, if I stay here for too long, I'm gonna get cooked, he panted. He tried to get up, but found himself unable to. He yanked again, but his backside felt like it was glued to the ground. Jiraiya, watching from a distance, held his hands together in concentration. Bear with my stick on floor no jutsu, for now, Naruto, he said, smiling. You'll be in heaven soon. I utterly refuse to find the Japanese equivalent of this jutsu. Boxer-sama was starting to feel dizzy, his consciousness leaving him. Finally he could take no more, and felt his eyes become heavy. He slowly passed out, sliding under the water like a dead fish, bubbles gurgling after him. Finally, Jiraiya exclaimed. He released his hands, breaking the seal he had placed on the hot springs floor. Forming more seals, he once more returned his hands together, using a technique he invented for research purposes. Hot spring divider breaker no jutsu. I utterly refuse to try and find a Japanese equivalent of this also. In a flash of chakra, the dividing wall on the springs shattered to nothingness, breaking the only barrier between the male and female side. The girls screamed in shock, covering themselves frantically, only to find one person on the other side, and he was knocked out. That's. Ino stuttered in surprise. Boxer-sama, Sakura said in delight. They gathered over to his side, looking at him in surprise. Is he okay? He's unconscious. The heat must have got him, Tsunade diagnosed. She smirked. I guess I can finally find out who to blame for all my paperwork. She reached for his mask and gave it a tug, only to find it was stuck on, hard. She pulled harder, but it still didn't budge. She put all her strength into it, but to no avail. Forget that, Shizune said, trying to hide her feelings. He needs medical attention. Let's take him to my place. No, my place. My place. No, mine. He's not looking very good, Hinata said softly, noticing water flooded in his mouth. I think he's choking. My place. They continued to argue. Mine. Okay. That's it, we'll settle this with some janken. Rock paper scissors. Jiraiya was sweating heavily in the distance, holding his palms together once again. He had to hold it until he was sure Tsunade would stop trying to pull off Naruto's mask. Geez, that woman's too strong. She almost broke my technique with those devilish hands. He said with a sigh. You better appreciate this, Naruto. Boxer-sama awoke to find himself in a bed. It wasn't the hospital, which he judged from the ceiling. The breeze told him that his shirt had been taken off, but thankfully his boxers remained. He looked around, and found himself surrounded by very familiar girls and women. He quickly shut his eyes, calling on the fox's chakra once more before opening them again. Sakura, Ino, Hinata, Tenten, Anko, Kurenai, Shizune, and Tsunade too. He yelled in surprise, his eyes darting to each of them as he said their names, barely managing to hold his fake voice. Tsunade eyed him angrily. Grr, who are you? And how do you know our names? If only you hadn't sealed your mask with chakra, I'd have you. Boxer-sama felt around his face in relief. The mask was still there. He made to get up, but his body ached, causing him to moan in agony. The girls, other than Tsunade, grabbed him and lowered him down gently. You shouldn't move too much. You were burned pretty bad from the hot spring, Shizune said, with worry in her voice. She was overjoyed that she could wait on Boxer-sama like this. Do you need anything, perhaps a drink? I'll get you a drink, Tenten said, jumping up. Oh no, I'll get it, Sakura said, running for the tap. Ino and Shizune also got up, squeezing into the doorway with them as they fought for the tap and glass. Ha, these kids, Kurenai said, giggling nervously, but she showed signs of wanting to get up and fight to get him a drink too, twitching and fidgeting. Apparently, meeting Boxer-sama this close, and noticing his toned, youth-filled body had gotten her heart racing for the one and only. Anko laughed out loud. Must be nice to have so many girls wanting to please you, huh? She taunted Boxer-sama with sharp eyes and a smile. Boxer-sama stared at her, then looked away, feeling she could see his red face. But you know, they're not the only ones who find you impressive, Anko said seductively, getting up and leaning over his face. I find strong men very attractive, explains Orochimaru. Anko. You too, Kurenai said with surprise. Inside, she was dying to shove Anko away and jump on Boxer-sama herself. Boxer-sama pushed his head down in embarrassment, trying to stay away from her. She was suddenly pushed away by a barrage of 4 girls, all holding glasses of water. Keep away from him, they yelled. Hey, I can't help it if I've got the goods for him, Anko smiled, licking her lips. Like all strong men, I'm sure Boxer-sama likes them big. You're not the only one with big. Kurenai said, clutching at her chest, and surprising all the others. Hey, mine are big, too. Shizune shouted without thinking. Tsunade looked at Shizune with a puckered mouth. Shizune, what are you getting all worked up for? Shizune froze in surprise. Well, Anko took this chance to throw herself onto Boxer-sama again, her chest squeezing into his face. Boxer-sama's face went red in surprise, feeling as though he was going to go unconscious again. Get off him, they yelled again, pulling her off. All hell broke loose as a massive and catfight ensued, filled with ninja techniques, nails, and the like. Tsunade had gotten up to try and calm everyone down, but after getting punched by a random fist decided to join the fray. Eventually someone used Mudpit no Jutsu, turning the room into one big wrestling ring, complete with muddy, beautiful girls tackling one another. Man's heaven on earth. Boxer-sama decided this would be a good chance to sneak off. But as he was about to reach the door, someone tapped him on the back. He spun around and saw Hinata, the only spectator of the fight, who was once again holding medicine for him. This will help for the burns. It's to say thank you. For last week, she said shyly, looking down. Boxer-sama accepted it, smiling underneath his mask. Thanks again, Hinata, Boxer-sama said happily, Naruto almost losing his fake voice. You always seem to help me a lot at these times. Oh, shouldn't have said that, Naruto thought to himself. Why do I keep screwing up? These times, Hinata repeated. She thought back to people she'd given medicine to before, and one special person stood out grandly. Are you? Before she could finish, Boxer-sama had darted out of the door, running away as fast as he could. Hinata stared at the door, then looked at her hand. Could it be? Naruto dashed back to Jiraiya's hut, ripping off his face mask. He saw Jiraiya sitting there, casually having a cup of tea. Jiraiya, what the hell was that about? Why didn't you show up? Naruto asked in anger. Calm down, Naruto. Everything went as I had hoped. He took a sip of his tea, then smirked at Naruto with perverted eyes. Did you enjoy their attention? Shut up. I'm not a pervert like you. Naruto yelled in defense. His face slowly began to glow red. Hee, your face tells me otherwise, Jiraiya commented smugly. Naruto wouldn't admit it, but he did enjoy the attention, something he got very rarely. On a plus, they were all beautiful girls. Naruto had been maturing unknowingly, starting to think about girls in a more romantic way. Past the puppy love he had for Sakura, anyway. Anyway, what do you mean, as you had hoped? Naruto asked impatiently. Jiraiya set his cup down and looked at Naruto seriously. Naruto, remember what happened when you toppled into the hot springs last time with me? Naruto shuddered. Of course I do. They pounded the crap out of me. Jiraiya stared at him. Compare that to what happened today. Naruto opened his mouth to say something, then shut it again. He sighed, a tinge of sadness in his eyes. That's only because it was Boxer-sama. They didn't even ask me if I was okay, and for crying out loud I toppled over a small cliff. Everyone loves Boxer-sama, though. His well-being is important. Jiraiya frowned at him. Isn't that the same as saying everyone loves you and cares for your well-being, Naruto? Naruto laughed out uncertainly. Of course not. Boxer-sama and I are totally different. Is that so? Jiraiya asked. From what I see, you two are exactly the same. Boxer-sama fights for the people, and is a very kind person, he motioned towards Naruto. And deep down, you are the exact same. Boxer-sama is just Naruto with boxers on. Don't you get it? Naruto squinted at him. Get what? Jiraiya reached out and smacked Naruto across the head. Ow, what the hell was that for? Naruto asked, rubbing his head. You're an idiot, Jiraiya said in annoyance. It's harsh, but as Naruto, nobody will even give you a chance. But with Boxer-sama, you have an opportunity to make the name Uzumaki Naruto known. As Boxer-sama, you've finally got a chance to show everyone what you've got, and when you reveal who you really are, they'll have no choice but to accept that the person they've acknowledged as Uzumaki Naruto. That the person they've seen to be a strong, dependable person is you. Naruto squinted at Jiraiya. I don't get it. Jiraiya sighed and hit him again. Ow. Geez. Naruto whined. I'll spell it out for you, Naruto. Don't be ashamed of Boxer-sama. Jiraiya said with a smile. Because he's you. He smirked. He even looks like a clown, just like you. He added with a laugh. Oi, shut up, Ero Sennin. Naruto said with a smirk, jumping on him. I don't care, I still think Boxer-sama is nothing compared to me. Wow, Ero Sennin set all this up, just for me. Even if I don't get it. Naruto thought to himself with a smile. Oh well, I think a little better of him now. Oh, by the way, you left the springs and broke one of my rules, so I've got to tell Tsunade. He exclaimed. Naruto stopped attacking, looking at him blankly. What? Naruto gasped in horror. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Jiraiya bellowed. But you've gotta do me another favor. Grr. I was wrong. This guy is bad. Very bad. Naruto yelled inside. What is it this time, Ero Sennin? Naruto asked. Jiraiya laughed rowdily. His face beat red, as he swung his mug in the air. Woo. Yeah. He called out in intoxicated joy, as he watched the numerous Narutos in form, dancing to the song, Whip It, by Devo. They were dressed in kinky cowboy outfits, cracking their whips to the music. I hate you, you perverted old fart. Naruto growled, but his voice was drowned out by the music. Shikamaru lay down on the roof, as he had always enjoyed doing, but something about today had thrown him off. It wasn't as relaxing as usual, and he realized it was because the streets were much louder today. He took a moment to listen in. So cool, saved Uchiha, handsome, boxers. Shikamaru's eyes rolled up in annoyance. What the hell is everyone so noisy about, he grumbled. It's pissing me off. Boxers, he thought, and seemed to vaguely recall hearing Ino talking enthusiastically about boxers. But he wasn't really paying attention to her at the time. Not that there ever was a time when he did. After trying for a few minutes, he finally gave in, the chatter constantly growing louder. With a groan, he headed back downstairs, where his family was at the table with newspapers. His mother, Yoshino, was pouring coffee into his father's cup, which was already filled to the top, the coffee spluttering everywhere. His dad didn't even notice when the coffee fell onto his crotch, steam sizzling from his pants. Ahem, guys, Shikamaru started. They continued to read, obviously engrossed in something. Hello. Oh, hello, sweetie. His mother replied, surprised. Didn't notice you there. No kidding, Shikamaru grumbled. What's wrong with you two? He asked, grabbing a packet of potato chips and sitting at the table, minding the coffee, which his mother was still pouring. Haven't you heard? Boxer-sama, dear, Boxer-sama, she squealed happily, turning the paper to show him. He's a mysterious Konoha super ninja. They say he's even stronger than that boy you know, what's his name? Uchiha. That's it, Uchiha, she replied. I forgot his name. Silly me. Well, that's a first, Shikamaru said with shock. My mom used to love Sasuke. Shikamaru ate the second last chip in his packet, then nervously glanced around for a minute. When nothing happened, he thought to himself curiously. Did something happen to Choji? He frowned. It must have been serious. He didn't crash through my window for the last chip like he did last time. God, that was a messy affair. You know what, Shikamaru? His mother said with a smile. Oh no, Shikamaru thought to himself. She said that phrase. That phrase she uses when she's about to lecture me, he sighed. This would be a good chance to try that jutsu I've been practicing. As his mother was about to begin lecturing him, his hands moved at lightning speed, making seal after seal under the table. Trying his best to look as though he wasn't doing anything, he mumbled out of the side of his mouth as he held his hands in position. Blockout no jutsu. That boxer Sama really is some guy. He's smart, and brave, and handsome. Don't you think he's handsome, son? Why, I bet he's a hit with all the ladies in town. My, even I'm starting to find him slightly attractive. And don't you dare say I'm too old. You know, Shikamaru, you should learn a thing or two from the great boxer Sama. You've been lazing about too much. You know, I think you've been gaining a pound here and there. You should look at the sketches of boxer Sama I've seen, he's so toned. Such a body on a young boy, it's a girl's dream come true. Why can't you be more like that, Shikamaru? You should be. Shikamaru stared at his mother, occasionally nodding. His jutsu wasn't working as well as he hoped, as his mother proved to be stronger than any jutsu that could stop her speeches. It wasn't completely useless, though. With the help of his technique, he managed to bring the ringing in his head to a chant of, bitch, bitch, bitch. Whine, whine, whine. An hour later, Shikamaru gulped nervously, sweat trickling down his forehead. His mother was still going, the technique was dying, and the damn coffee was still pouring. Shikamaru would have used his high IQ to determine how the coffee could pour out of a container for a good hour, but all his brainpower was issued to holding onto his technique as though his life depended on it. But even with his effort, words were beginning to break through. Boxer Sama, workout, made his new gym. Finally, Shikamaru could hold it no more. His hands broke apart, the words once more becoming clear. He panted, breathing deeply. All of his chakra had depleted, and he couldn't move. He swore silently. Not only did he have to listen, but also he couldn't run away. He would have cried, but he couldn't be bothered. And so that's why I signed you up to join Maida-sensei's gym. His mother finally finished. Shikamaru froze, creakily turning his head up to face her. You signed me up for a gym. Maida-sensei, Guy-sensei has a gym, he asked nervously. Weren't you listening to me? His mom said hotly. I told you he opened a gym to train people into becoming like Boxer Sama. Shikamaru gulped nervously. There's no way I can get out of this, is there? His mother caressed Shikamaru's cheek with a smile, then gave him the look that said, if you don't do it, you'll regret it. You don't mind doing it, right, Shikamaru? Shikamaru looked at her lazily, then turned to his father. Dad, tell mom to take me off the program. His father Shikaku looked up from his paper suddenly. Huh, what's going on? When did you get in, Shikamaru? He looked down at his pants, and jumped up. Oh God. There's coffee my groin. It's still hot. His father jumped around, patting out his groin. Shikamaru groaned as his father tried shadow binding his pants and mentally make them rip themselves off him. Damn Boxer Sama, he mumbled, as his dad slipped on the coffee and hit the floor. It's cooking it. Oh Lord, it's cooking it. Shikaku groaned. Neji's story. Neji bowed silently in front of Hinata's father and head of the Hyugas, Hyuga Hiyashi. He looked at Neji, and took a long breath. Neji, do you know why I have called you here? He began. Neji responded, his eyes glued to the tatami mats. No, Hyuga-sama. Sit up. Neji, he commanded. Neji moved to an upright position as he was told, and Hyuga reached into his robes and pulled out a folded newspaper. How he managed to fit it and keep it there without people noticing it sticking is unknown. He flicked it open professionally, mystically flipping the paper around to face Neji. Look. Neji examined the picture in front of him. It was a flimsy drawing of Hyuga Hinata, his cousin, and Uchiha Sasuke sitting on the floor covered in injuries, and standing in front of them protectively was. Who is that? Neji asked. Hiyashi almost fell over in surprise, but quickly composed himself. He sighed, speaking to Neji informally for a moment. Neji, don't you read the paper or anything? Or talk to people? Anything? Hiyashi asked with a hint of desperation. It's a waste of time, I don't really care about what's going on, he replied with a straight face. Hiyashi sighed, and decided not to delve into Neji's loner habits. This guy here, he pointed to the picture. The muscular one with boxer shorts on. Neji asked casually. Yes, the muscular one with boxer shorts. Yesterday, there was an incident that put my daughter Hinata in danger. This mystery man apparently saved her. He sighed. I'm still uncomfortable with the thought that someone as unsightly as this person has saved Hinata. You're saying that it should have been me, correct? Neji replied. He didn't show it, but inside he was slightly nervous, thinking he was going to be punished. And he knew that Hyuga punishments were severe. It's not that I don't believe in your abilities, Hiashi replied. But, how to say, I believe that you can become so much more than you are now. What are you talking about? Neji asked, unable to see what Hiashi was saying. Suddenly, Hiashi had tears forming in his clear, white eyes, as he wiped them dramatically. It must be my fault, he cursed himself. If only I'd trained you properly, there'd be no need for this man in boxers, this Boxer-sama. Upon hearing Boxer-sama's name, Neji thought back to where he heard it. Flashback. Neji and Tenten had been instructed by their sensei guy to collect materials, including wood, an assortment of paint, and various building tools. He had told them he had a super special nice guy idea. As expected, they had no idea whatsoever what he was planning to do. Neji, don't you think Boxer-sama is amazing? Tenten remarked, hearts in her eyes. Neji responded, not listening as usual. He carried a stack of planks tied together with rope on his shoulder, and had a can of red paint in his other hand. And don't you think he's incredibly strong? Do you think he's really stronger than Sasuke-kun? Tenten eyed him, wondering if he was really listening to her. He might even be stronger than you. He's also much cooler than you. I totally want to make out with him. She huffed, wishing her alleged boyfriend would be jealous. I didn't even say anything. If you say, again, it means you want to make out with me, while I imagine you are Boxer-sama. Wait a minute, what? Before Neji could move, Tenten threw herself onto him, causing them fall over the floor, the things Neji was carrying flying into the air. Everything fell onto them, covering them in paint and pinning Tenten on top of Neji with a bundle of wood. Tenten eagerly tried to plant her lips onto his, but Neji desperately held her face away, her face squishing around into his hands. Bakar-kama, she squealed, her mouth shapeshifting due to Neji's hands. The planks of wood, coupled with Tenten's body, prevented him from getting up, and his hands were full holding back Tenten's puckered lips. People passing by stared at them curiously at the strange couple covered in paint and wood that were making out in the streets. Don't just stand there, you morons. Neji begged uncharacteristically, panic-stricken. Get her off me. Somebody. Anybody. Neji quivered at the thought. He looked up at Hiashi, who was still teary-eyed. Please Hyuga-sama, do not consider yourself at fault for anything, Neji said, bowing once more. No, Hiashi said, lightly dabbing on his eyes. If I had given you the love and care I should have, everything would be different. Hyuga-sama, please do not think that, he bowed lower. Please, give me the chance to show you I can become stronger than this Boxer-sama, and prove that you are not at fault. Suddenly, Hiashi no longer had tears in his eyes, and was smiling brightly. I'm glad you said that. And so, to ensure that you do improve, I signed you up to a special gym made by Guy Sensei, which is specifically for the purpose of becoming as strong as Boxer-sama. Neji looked at Hiashi, suddenly understanding what had happened. He cursed under his breath. You tricked me, didn't you? You made me feel sorry for you so I would do this gym thing. Tears appeared in Hiashi's eyes once again. How could you think such a thing? It must be my fault. Your father must have eternal hatred for me now. He would want me to ensure that you can gain a strong body like Boxer-sama. And I thought that I could repent for my sins, how foolish. Neji bowed once again in a panic. Forgive me, Hyuga-sama. I will most definitely attend this program you have so generously set for me, and I will become the only protector Hinata-sama will need. Hiashi wiped his eyes happily. Thank you, Neji. Show everyone the might of the Hyuga family. Neji bowed and left the room. Outside, as he shut the door, he heard a slight giggling from inside. Curiously, he turned, looking at the door. Making sure nobody was around, he began to concentrate. Byakugan. His eyes penetrated the walls, where he saw Hiashi, and his jaw dropped to the ground. Hiashi sat there, giggling with one hand covering his mouth like a Japanese old lady, and waving cheekily with his other hand in Neji's direction, as if he knew that Neji was looking at him. He was waving a bottle in his hands, which was labeled, eye drops. Neji burned in annoyance. Literally, Neji was so angry he caught on fire. The fire coupled with his freaky-looking eyes made him look quite intimidating. Damn you, Hiashi-sama, Neji twitched. And damn you Boxer-sama for making me look bad. I'll become stronger and defeat you, and then, he glared evilly at Hiashi. I'm going to rub it in Hiashi-sama's face. Choji's story. DDDD diet. Choji shouted in horror, feeling his heart stop as he heard his second most hated word. Now son, Choji's father, Akamichi Shuza scolded. We will not be having anyone in the Akamichi family to be fat. He glared at his mother and father. But you two are fat too. They glared back, then suddenly thwomped him on the head. We're big boned. Big boned. His mother continued. After we saw the picture of the great Boxer-sama, we realized that you have been gaining too much weight. I mean, have you seen that Boxer-sama's body? He seems so young, yet his body, his mother drooled slightly. I could just gobble him up. Shuza and Choji shivered, wondering whether she meant that literally. Anyway, son, his father continued. Starting today, you're going to be eating on a strict program that we've found for you. In fact, it was made by Guy, a program that will make you as fit and strong as Boxer-sama. Guy Sensei made a program? Choji asked in surprise. Yep, and it even includes a daily gym session. You're going to be doing a lot of exercise every day from now on. Choji hyperventilated uncontrollably. He had heard the word that he hated even more than the word, diet. Exercise. Choji suddenly screamed in horror, grabbing his face and staring upwards, feeling that he was losing his mind. If you thought that was exciting, just wait until you see your lunch. His mother said brightly, mistaking his scream of agony for one of joy. She placed a plate in front of him, and Choji looked down to see a single pea, a rice patty, and a strange vegetable he'd never seen before. He screamed and grasped his face again, this time running out of the house in fear. That's our Choji, Shuza remarked, putting his arm around his wife. He seems ecstatic about getting into shape. Shuza poked his head out the window, shouting to his son who was running into the distance. You can do it, son. And don't forget to thank Boxer-sama for making you exercise and diet. Guy looked up at his gym proudly, seeing a mighty Maida castle. Lee looked up at it grimly, seeing a shabbily made hut consisting of wood and nails. It didn't even have a floor. The only feature that stood out was Guy wearing heart-shaped boxers with a grin and a thumbs up. Guy Sensei, I've been meaning to tell you, Lee stammered. What is it, Lee, my most adorable student? He asked dramatically. Lee had tears streaming down his face. Guy Sensei, you're not being the Guy Sensei I know. The man I respected, the man that showed me the importance of the green suit. Where did he go, Sensei? Where did he go? Guy stared at Lee, stunned. He hadn't realized that Lee was going through a hard time. He became serious for a moment. Lee, it must have been strange for you, not to see me in the great green suit, Guy said, tears beginning to form. Gee Guy Sensei, Lee sniffled, snot leaking out of his nose, which went up and down as he constantly tried to suck it back in. You're right, Lee, I shouldn't have thrown off my green suit so dramatically. Guy said, grinning broadly. Lee looked up, a smile creeping into his face. Sensei. Does this mean? Yes, my lovely student. He yelled out, posing in his nice guy pose. I will once again don my green suit, and become the sensei you always loved. He dashed off into the distance, leaving a stunned and relieved Lee in front of the gym. He wept happily. Guy-sensei is back, he yelled in glee. Suddenly, he noticed a green figure approaching him. Lee began crying harder, waterfalls streaming out of his eyes and surrounding him in a puddle. As he approached, Lee yelled out his name. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy was getting closer. Guy-sensei. Lee. Now he was clearly in view. Gai-sen, Lee. Quote. Lee. Lee stared at him. He indeed had put his green suit back on, however. Guy-sensei, you're wearing the boxers over your suit. Guy gave him his nice guy pose. Lee gave him, what the hell? Face. You see, Lee, your old teacher is still here. Never fear. Guy replied, posing some more. He obviously didn't understand what Lee had actually meant. Before Lee had a chance to say anything, a group of individuals arrived. Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, Kiba, and Neji were walking together, all mumbling incoherently. Ah, and here are my first students. Guys, Lee asked in wonder. What are you all doing here? They all stared at him, eyes twitching. They all came in different circumstances, but they all knew one thing. We want to kill Boxer-sama. Meanwhile, at a small ramen stand. Achoo. Naruto sneezed loudly, dropping his chopsticks. He sniffled, his snot smothering into the ramen that was halfway into his mouth. He looked down at it uncertainly. He reached into his pocket and removed his wallet, and turned it upside down. Unsurprisingly, it was empty. His eyes jumped from his snotty ramen and his wallet, back and forth over and over. Naruto gulped nervously. Can't buy more, he mumbled through noodles, sending stray bits of snot and noodles onto the table. Oh well, he took one deep breath, then sucked in deeply, noodles, snot, and all entering his mouth. He swallowed down, flicking his lips in wonder. That didn't taste too bad. Look, I really don't care about this, Boxy-sama, Guy, so please, let me go home. Kankuro moaned as his sister Tamari casually dragged him along the ground, a trail of dust following him. Gaara silently followed them, staring at the ground in boredom. It's Boxer-sama, not Boxy. And besides, Tamari pointed into the distance, at a small speck. Konoha is right there. You want to go all the way back to the Sunagaker. You want to make that super long trek across the desert, on your own, with no food or... Okay, I get it. Geez, Kankuro grumbled. He sighed, and turned to check on his little brother, Gaara. But why did you force Gaara to come along? Better yet, how? I'm sure he doesn't want to meet Bunker-sama too. It's Boxer-sama. I know, Banker-sama. Boxer-sama. That's what I said. Bogus-sama. Quote. You're an idiot. Just answer my question. Tamari sighed, shrugging. Actually, Gaara just wanted to come. He didn't tell me why though. If anything, I tried to stop him, saying that the people of Konoha wouldn't be very welcoming of him. It's a good thing we have a treaty with them, or they'd toast us. Kankuro wasn't listening to her anymore, instead fearing what reasons Gaara would want to go back to Konoha. Oh Jeebus, I hope he doesn't go on a killing spree or something, maybe he won't. Maybe he wants to go shopping for something only in Konoha. He glanced at Gaara, and noticing the devilish look on his face, he shivered. Okay, it probably isn't shopping. Gaara had indeed come of his own will. He had planned for a long time to return and exact his painful, evil, sandy vengeance onto Naruto, who humiliated and defeated him during their past assault on Konoha. He had always felt different since his encounter with Naruto, a strange feeling for the blonde ninja left inside his heart, which he deduced to be hatred, but was it? Other than Naruto, however, the news of Boxer-sama had reached the village of Sand, so he felt inclined to meet him, and beat the living daylights out of him for being loved so much. He hated people who got loved so easily. Naruto, Boxer-sama, people to kill, he whispered, trembling. An insane grin broke into his face as the trembling became more evident. Kankuro looked at him and shivered again. Crap, He's getting aroused again, Kankuro joked quietly to Tamari with a cheeky grin. I'll never understand my cute little brother's turn-ons. All of a sudden, Kankuro was thrusted into the air by a pillar of sand, engulfing his body. It was a joke. I was kidding. I was kidding. Kankuro gurgled, a sand version of Gaara's body popping out of the pillar and strangling him while chanting, I heard that. I heard that. So, you're saying you know who Boxer-sama is, Tsunade said, staring at Jiraiya. He nodded affirmatively. And you met him personally too, she continued. Yep. That's right. Jiraiya replied, nodding some more. But you're not going to tell me who it is, Tsunade said with a smile. Correct. Jiraiya responded with a grin. A brief moment of silence ensued, the two smiling at each other. Tsunade suddenly jumped over her table and grabbed Jiraiya by the throat, strangling him mercilessly, causing Jiraiya's head flinging about like a rag doll. I knew you couldn't keep your hands off me, Jiraiya said with a grin while his face went blue. Tsunade glared at him in anger. What the hell do you mean you can't tell me, you crazy, perverted turtle lover? These damn papers don't stop coming. Are you saying you want to assist in me getting more work? Wait, Jiraiya gasped, his face going shades of purple. We made a deal. Tsunade eyed him suspiciously, still clutching at his throat. This involved something perverted, didn't it? Tsunade got her answer in the form of a nervous, gasped-out whistling, as Jiraiya's eyes rolled up to the ceiling, finding it suddenly interesting. Tsunade screamed out and began shaking him up again. Jiraiya's face was looking faint, and if Shizune hadn't walked in and calmed Tsunade down, Jiraiya would have been royally screwed. Tsunade took a deep breath and returned to her seat, as Jiraiya took numerous, even deeper breaths, his face slowly returning to color. Finally, he sat down once more, and anyone who walked in at this moment wouldn't have believed that they were brawling moments ago. They looked as though nothing had happened. This deal, Tsunade began. Could you explain it thoroughly for me? Jiraiya shuffled uncomfortably in his seat. It's probably better if I don't tell you what I got from the deal, but you'll like what you get. Tsunade sighed. Don't worry, I think I'd puke if I found out what you got. Jiraiya continued. Well, I managed to convince him to take on the jobs and notices he's been sent. But he's given me the condition that nobody else finds out who he is. Tsunade's eye twitched slightly. So, I can't find out who he is, but he'll take all the paperwork. I'm assuming it's through you. Jiraiya smiled brightly. That's right, I'll personally be the one to send him his missions. Tsunade took a deep breath. While I have longed to find out who it is, and break his face in, I guess I can handle those measures. Tell Boxer-sama we have a deal. Tsunade called for Shizune, who arrived with a massive stack of papers, which was set down in front of Jiraiya. He looked up at it nervously, noticing it was almost twice his height. What's this? Jiraiya asked curiously. Tsunade grinned evilly. Boxer-sama's first set of missions and requests, Tsunade giggled girlishly. I may not be able to beat him to a pulp, but it'll be interesting to watch him try and finish all this. And more keeps coming. She pointed towards the door. Come again soon, so I can give you more. Jiraiya chuckled nervously, lifting the papers and walking out, stepping sideways now and then to try and balance it all. He sighed. Naruto's not going to like this, Jiraiya gulped. Two boys were arguing quite loudly once again, this time in the middle of a busy market street, the merchants praying they would go away. They were bad for business. Acknowledge me already, damn it. Naruto wailed. You said you would. Naruto was told that they had no missions on today by a downhearted Kakashi, who was mumbling incoherently along the lines, movie destroyed. Boxer-sama. Kill. Naruto had nothing better to do, so decided to spend the day following Sasuke around to make him acknowledge that he was the greater ninja. I didn't say anything, Sasuke replied angrily. And there's nothing worth acknowledging about you, except maybe how stupid you are. Naruto still fought to get Sasuke's approval, and Sasuke's mind was still preoccupied with thoughts on how to get rid of Boxer-sama. He had noticed the recent decline in his popularity, and while he didn't admit it, he missed it. He hated the way Boxer Sama stole his limelight, and loathed the thought that he could be much stronger than himself. His mood had grown ever more grouchy since the first Boxer Sama incident, and Naruto's constant nagging wasn't exactly helping it. As for Sakura, she spent more time with girlfriends talking about Boxer Sama rather than chasing him so often. Sasuke didn't know whether to be happy that she left him alone, or pissed that Boxer Sama was beating him again. After another hour of failed attempts, Naruto's stomach growled powerfully, even causing the ground to shake slightly. In fact, Sasuke tripped from the vibrations, falling forward onto a pink-haired girl who had her hands full with shopping bags. They crashed to the floor in a heap. Sakura, Sasuke said, realizing whom he crashed onto. Oh, hello Sasuke, she said. Could you get off me now? I've got plenty of things to do. What the hell? Sasuke thought to himself. Normally she'd kill for a moment like this. Literally kill. Sasuke grunted, getting back to his feet. Sakura-chan, Naruto exclaimed, pulling her to her feet and forgetting his hunger for the moment. What are you doing out here? What does it look like? I'm shopping, she said, raising her bags to make a point. It's not every day we have free time, so the girls and I were arranging for a sleepover. I'm just buying some supplies. Sleepover, Naruto repeated curiously. Is that like a religious thing? Sasuke and Sakura stared at him blankly. You don't know what a sleepover is? Naruto squinted at them with a frown. Is it something important? Can you wear it? He grinned hopefully. Can you eat it? You know Naruto, I think I'll acknowledge you now, Sasuke said with a sigh. You are indeed the biggest idiot ever. Congratulations. Hey, stuff you. It's not my fault I've never eaten a sleepover before. Naruto yelled, raising his fist. But suddenly, he clutched his stomach again as it rumbled once more. Grr, I'll get you after I've had something to eat, maybe I'll find some sleepover. Naruto squabbled off, occasionally setting off miniature earthquakes and scaring the merchants. Sasuke and Sakura stared at him and sighed. What a moron. Doesn't even know what a sleepover is, Sasuke said icily. He's stupid beyond belief sometimes. Who cares about that guy? He's a loser anyway, not like Boxer Sama. She squealed happily, accidentally dropping one of her bags. Oops. The bag hit the ground, its contents tipping onto the floor. Sasuke looked down as she picked everything up, and frowned, twitching in anger. Sakura, why do you have all this Boxer Sama merchandise? He asked, shaking in irritation. For the sleepover, remember? Sakura reminded him. We going to dedicate it to Boxer Sama, so we're all going to wear boxer shorts and shirts and surround ourselves with Boxer Sama merchandise. Don't you think that's cool? Sasuke could feel himself burning up, and Sakura noticed steam pouring out of his ears and nose. Sasuke, are you okay? You're steaming. I don't think it's normal for people to steam. Hey, I know. Use this, Boxer Sama, ice pack. She said, as she reached into one of her bags and pulled out an ice pack in the shape of a miniature Boxer Sama. It's like he's hugging your wounds. Ah, she squealed as she hugged her ice pack, instantly forgetting why she took it out to begin with. Had she looked for Sasuke, she'd have noticed that he had somehow melted the dirt under his feet with his incredibly high temperature, and had now sunk under the ground, his spiky, raven-haired head looking like a black shrub on the track. Which was promptly run over by a rickshaw. Twice. Naruto raised his bowl of ramen, slobbering down the remaining soup loudly. He slammed it back down onto the table, sighing in satisfaction. Sometimes Naruto, you're just too easy to find, a familiar voice said, taking a seat by him. Yo, Ero Sennin, what's been hap? What the heck is that tower? Naruto yelped in surprise, pointing at the stack of papers that Jiraiya had set by the ramen stand. The pile managed to pass the roof of the ramen stall with considerable ease. Well, Jiraiya began. I had to bargain with Tsunade so that she wouldn't rip me to pieces when I didn't tell her who you were. Remember when I said that she had loads of missions and stuff waiting for air? He leant in and whispered. Boxer-sama. Naruto looked at the stack of papers, then gulped nervously. Are you serious? How the hell am I going to do that all on my own? Jiraiya grinned cheekily, patting him on the back. You want to be a Hokage, right? So this should be nothing for you. I'm going to take them back to my hut, so tonight I want you to come over and start finishing these missions. Naruto groaned, thinking of all the time he'd lose, all the things he loved doing that he wouldn't be able to. Which was mainly sleeping and eating for long periods of time. Anyway, I'm off. Remember, tonight, Jiraiya said, picking up his stack once more and awkwardly swerving off for his hut. Naruto sighed anxiously. Things couldn't possibly get worse, he said, then twitched. He looked around ominously. Something bad is going to happen again, huh? Naruto looked around for a moment, but couldn't find anything wrong. He turned back to his empty ramen bowl, laughing heartily. I'm being paranoid. That's it. Hello. A creepy voice appeared right behind him, breathing on his neck and causing a shiver to run up his spine. He swung around quickly, but lost his balance on the stool, crashing to the floor. Rubbing his back in pain, he looked up to see who it was and froze, his jaw falling to the floor. Gee Gaara! Naruto yelled in shock, pointing up at him meticulously from the floor. What the hell are you doing here? Remember, we have a treaty. If you're trying to relax, kid, Kankuro said calmly, standing behind Gaara. We're not here to cause any trouble. That's hard to believe, Naruto said, eyeing him suspiciously. So why are you here, then? Kankuro frowned in embarrassment, his cheeks flushing slightly. Temari is dead set on meeting Baxter-sama, and she dragged me along with her. That crazy girl, he whispered the last part under his breath. Naruto stared at him in surprise. You mean Boxer-sama? Yeah, something like that. Why you guys at Sunagakur have heard of Boxer-sama? Kid, everybody has heard of that creepy underwear freak. Personally he seems like a total nut to me, this Box-sama, Kankuro said with a shrug. Boxer-sama, Naruto corrected. Yeah, Bonker-sama. No, Boxer-sama. That's what I said. Banger-sama. Are you even listening to me? Gaara was staring intently at Naruto, his eyes twitching now and then. He knew he wanted something from the blonde-haired ninja, and he had thought he wanted to fight him. But his body didn't want to. He looked at Naruto in confusion. It should be, no, has to be that I want to hurt him, so why can't I? Gaara thought. It was a feeling he had not felt before, or at least a feeling he couldn't remember. Little did Gaara know that what he was feeling was a want for friendship. His icy cold heart recognized Naruto as someone who could relate to him and possibly accept him. However, to Gaara, the feeling was just his usual desire to fight and kill him. Naruto glared back at Gaara uncertainly, still lying on the floor. His stare was scaring him. Oi, what's your problem? He asked cautiously. Gaara tensed, trying to attack him, trying to violently decapitate his limbs and rip his face off with his teeth. But not even his sand wanted to attack. Gaara's eyes winced once again before he finally gave up, turning away and walking off without a word. Gaara, hey, where you going? Kankuro called as he chased after him. Naruto sat up on the ground, crossing his legs, watching them disappear into the distance. He frowned sourly. Why does it feel like things just became more complicated? Sakura, Ino, Tenten, and Hinata were all heading for Ino's place, the location of their sleepover. They were carrying bags full of Boxer-sama things, except of course for Hinata, who only brought her pajamas and sleeping needs. Except she also had a small hand-knitted doll she slept with, that resembled a blonde-haired kid in orange, but she chose to hide that deep in her bag. Everyone, except Hinata of course, was eagerly chattering away about Boxer-sama. Oh my gosh, when we helped him in the springs, did you girls cop a feel of his chest? Ino squealed cheekily. You didn't. Sakura said jealously. Ino stared at her, victory in her eyes. Oh, it felt fantastic. I'm so sorry that you didn't touch it, Sakura, she teased. Oh yeah, Tenten said, licking her lips lightly. I copped a feel of his butt while we were carrying him. The other girls stared at her, then lowered their heads in defeat. Hinata just listened quietly, but the thought of touching butt led her mind to someone else. She saw herself caressing someone on his behind, as he grabbed her tightly, hugging her, and throwing her down to make out with her like a madman and proclaim his undying love for her. Hey, Hinata, what's up? The girls asked, staring at her. Your face is all red, and you're moaning slightly. Hinata suddenly woke up, shaking her hands in the air hurriedly. Nothing. Sorry, she said, her face beet red. The girls shrugged, continuing their discussions of Boxer-sama. You're all talking about Boxer-sama, aren't you? A girl's voice said behind them. They turned around curiously, and shrieked in surprise. Why you? They all yelled, pointing at her. Except Hinata, who was edging herself slowly behind the others. Tamari raised her hands in surrender. Don't worry, she said casually. I'm not here to cause trouble, I only want one thing. And what's that? They asked carefully. Tamari suddenly whipped out a life-sized Boxer-sama pillow, and cuddled it with a kia. From where she whipped it out is questionable. I want to meet Boxer-sama. She squealed girlishly, surprising all the others greatly. But what surprised them even more was, oh my gosh, you have the limited edition life-sized Boxer-sama pillow. Tamari gave them the victory sign. I had to work like a dog to earn enough money in time, but I got it. The girls crowded around her, checking the pillow out excitedly. Except Hinata, who stood there in confusion. Wow, is the butt on this the same as the real one, Tenten? Let me have a feel and see. What? You've touched his butt before? No way. That's not all we did. Hoo. In the end, Tamari was invited to accompany them to their sleepover, to which she gladly agreed. They had found common ground in their infatuation with the boxer shorts super ninja. The sun was beginning to set, and they saw Ino's place up ahead. Okay, let the party begin, they yelled as they cheered happily. Except Hinata, who made a shy, yay, noise. Boxer-sama stood gloomily in Jiraiya's hut, observing the pile of papers. He felt exhausted just looking at it. He wore the same headgear that Jiraiya had given him, along with his trusty heart-patterned boxers and white shirt. Okay, Boxer-sama, there were a lot of easy jobs, and a lot of hard ones, so I took the liberty of picking you a hard one because I know if I let you pick, you'll do the easy ones. Boxer-sama cringed, looking at Jiraiya with annoyed eyes. He had already figured out Naruto's master plan. This came from the locals. Apparently there's been a mysterious and powerful panty thief in Konoha who has been causing a ruckus every night for some time. They want me to catch a panty thief? Naruto asked quizzically. How come the police ninjas, police ninjas, couldn't get him? He's just some crazy pervert, he thought for a moment, then stared at Jiraiya suspiciously. It isn't you, is it? Jiraiya frowned in embarrassment. Come on, Naruto, I'm not that low. I just want a good look now and then, for research, maybe a picture or two, he coughed vigorously. Anyway, the reason they couldn't catch him is because he's apparently no ordinary panty thief. They've got this mission as a B ranker. He's probably stronger than your average ninja. Do you think you can handle him? Of course I can. I can handle anything and anyone. Naruto said courageously. He ran out the door, jumping swiftly through the trees on his first job to catch the powerful, perverted panty thief. Jiraiya looked at the door and smiled. Naruto's going to become a great man, he said with a father-like face and a heart filled with pride. Which was suddenly interrupted when Boxer-sama bounded back in. I forgot to ask about what he looks like and where I'm supposed to find him, he chuckled, scratching the back of his head. Jiraiya sighed. Well, maybe not a smart man, he mumbled, rolling his eyes.